Ancient history and philosophy. What ancient belief system or doctrine of Pythagoras, which holds that human souls are reborn into other living beings or animals, is referenced in Shakespeare's Twelfth Night? Metempsychosis, transmigration of souls. What ancient Sumerian city, famous for its royal cemetery and ziggurat, yielded a 4,500-year-old board game during 1920s archaeological digs? What body of high-ranking advisors and governing officials in the late Roman Republic was split primarily into the populace and the optimates? Roman Senate. Which ancient Egyptian queen died from a snakebite in 30 BC shortly after Mark Antony's death, and was buried alongside him? Cleopatra. Which ancient Greek philosopher taught that the highest good is pleasure, peace of mind, and the avoidance of pain while cherishing friendship? Epicurus. In Jewish folklore, what mythical clay figure brought to life by Rabbi Judah Loew of Prague was created to protect the Jewish community from persecution? Golem. World history and warfare. Which English explorer and courtier served as the governor of Jersey, the largest of the Channel Islands, from 1600 to 1603 to fortify its defenses? Sir Walter Raleigh. What Union general was famously portrayed in an 1861 political cartoon as Hercules wielding his Anaconda Plan club against the Dragon of Secession? Winfield Scott. Which French aristocrat and political figure was guillotined in 1793 for assassinating radical Jacobin leader Jean-Paul Marat in his bathtub? Charlotte Corday. What French revolutionary calendar month, corresponding to mid-July to mid-August, marked the end of the Reign of Terror and the downfall of Robespierre? Thermidor. Which French emperor achieved one of his greatest military victories by defeating a combined Russian and Austrian army at the Battle of Austerlitz in 1805? Napoleon Bonaparte. What draft system, instituted on October 29, 1940, served as the first peacetime military lottery in United States history? Selective Service System, or Selective Training and Service Act? Geography, places, and travel. What is the largest of the Channel Islands located off the coast of Normandy, France? Jersey. What smaller sea, situated between Crimea and Russia, is connected to the Black Sea by the Kerch Strait? Sea of Azov. Known for its thousands of towering limestone karst islands, Halong Bay is located in the Gulf of Tonkin in which Southeast Asian country? Vietnam. What narrow, steep-sided coastal inlet carved by glaciers forms natural landmarks like Doubtful Sound and Fiordland National Park in New Zealand? Fjord. Following the fall of South Vietnam in 1975, the capital city of Saigon was renamed in honor of which communist leader? Ho Chi Minh City. In 1995, what island nation moved the international date line eastwards so all of its scattered island groups could share the same calendar day? Kiribati. What is the northernmost U.S. zip code, 99950, associated with a city in which American state? Alaska. What Scottish loch, famous for legendary monster sightings, has the village of Drumnadrahit situated along its shore? Loch Ness. Which major world capital hosts the international headquarters of the Red Cross, founded there in 1863? Geneva. In which Nevada city will you find the flagship campus of the University of Nevada? Reno. Which country in Southeast Asia is the only nation in Asia with Portuguese as an official language, gaining full independence from Indonesia in 2002? East Timor, Timor-Leste. Literature and authors. Which American author died in 1851 and is buried in Cooperstown, New York, about a quarter-mile walk from the National Baseball Hall of Fame? James Fenimore Cooper. Which 19th-century Thomas Hardy novel about a wronged young woman is subtitled A Pure Woman Faithfully Presented? Tess of the D'Urberville. What famous 1938 farm resident and author wrote Charlotte's Web while living in Maine surrounded by farm animals? E. B. White. Which 2011 biographical novel by Paula McLean tells the story of Ernest Hemingway's first marriage from the perspective of his wife, Hadley Richardson? The Paris Wife. In Stephenie Meyer's original dream casting before movie production began, which actor was her top choice to play Edward Cullen in Twilight? Henry Cavill. What classic children's book series by Ludwig Bemelmans follows the adventures of a little girl living in a Paris convent school who later travels to London? Madeline. Science, physics, and biology. Which German theoretical physicist, famous for his uncertainty principle, served as the director of the Max Planck Institute for Physics from 1958 to 1970? Werner Heisenberg. In the composition of a traditional graphite pencil, what soft carbon mineral is mixed with clay to determine its degree of hardness? Graphite. What colorful tropical bird, celebrated as the national bird of Belize, has a bill that can account for up to 1/3 of its total body length? Toucan, keel-billed toucan. What prehistoric group of three-segmented marine arthropods, abundant during the Paleozoic era, went completely extinct during the Permian mass extinction? Trilobites. What basic subatomic particle carries a negative electric charge equal and opposite to that of a proton? Electron. What biological classification group includes 10-legged crustaceans like crabs, lobsters, and crayfish? Decapods, Decapita. What primary muscle covering the shoulder joint is responsible for raising the arm laterally away from the body? Deltoid. Film, television, and entertainment. What Pixar animated film features a vegetarian shark named Bruce who declares that fish are friends, not food? Finding Nemo. Tammy Taylor, played by Connie Britton, served as a guidance counselor for the Dillon High Panthers on what hit television drama? Friday Night Lights. What 1998 sports comedy film starring Matt Stone and Trey Parker introduces a fictional game combining basketball and baseball, directed by David Zucker? Basketball. What 2023 reality comedy series on Amazon Freevee features one real non-actor as a juror alongside 11 actors, with Alan Barinholtz serving as the judge? Jury Duty. What 2019 HBO miniseries starring Jared Harris as Valery Legasov dramatized the events and aftermath of a 1986 Soviet nuclear catastrophe? Chernobyl. What 1996 sports comedy film starring Dan Aykroyd and Daniel Stern features two fans kidnapping a star player for the Utah Jazz? Celtic Pride. What award-winning 1957 war film set during World War II holds the record for the most Academy Award for Best Picture wins by Columbia Pictures? The Bridge on the River Kwai. What 1993 animated feature film was the first movie released by Pixar Animation Studios? Toy Story. What long-running animated comedy series is set in the fictional American town of Springfield? The Simpsons. What fictional universe featuring Westeros and Essos served as the setting for an acclaimed HBO fantasy series based on George R.R. Martin's novels? Game of Thrones. Which British actor played the snide potion master Severus Snape in the Harry Potter film franchise? Alan Rickman. In the Netflix series Bridgerton, Golda Rocheville plays an older version of which British royal figure who also received her own prequel series? Queen Charlotte. Music and performing arts. What iconic 1976 hard rock song by Blue Oyster Cult urges listeners not to fear the inevitable arrival of the Reaper? Don't Fear the Reaper. What is the stage name of the early 1990s American hip-hop artist born Robert Matthew Van Winkle who recorded Ice Ice Baby? Vanilla Ice. Which legendary modern dancer and choreographer was one of two women honored in the U.S. Postal Service's 2004 American Choreographer series alongside Agnes DeMille? Martha Graham. What beloved television entertainer, famous for her role on The Golden Girls, was honored with her own U.S. Postal Service Forever stamp in March 2025? Betty White. What martial arts film from 1973 starring Bruce Lee and Jim Kelly served as the namesake for a famous poem by John Murillo? Enter the Dragon. What iconic show tune from Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, performed by Marilyn Monroe, name-checks high-end jewelers like Cartier and Tiffany's? Diamonds Are a Girl's Best Friend. Who sang the original lead vocal performance for the 1975 epic rock track Bohemian Rhapsody as part of the group Queen? Freddie Mercury. Who composed the iconic film scores for blockbuster franchises including Jaws, Star Wars, and Indiana Jones? John Williams. What famous 1911 Igor Stravinsky ballet tells the tragic love story of a traditional Russian puppet brought to life by a magician? Petrushka. What American singer and big band vocalist teamed up with Rock Hudson in several romantic comedy movies during the 1950s and 1960s? Doris Day. Pop culture and everyday expressions. In the Harry Potter series, what species and color is Harry Potter's pet companion Hedwig? Snowy owl. What famous idiom, derived from a sacred religious animal, describes a belief or topic that is exempt from criticism or questioning? Sacred cow. In 1920s American slang, what two-word rhyming phrase involving an insect and its limbs was used to describe something outstanding or superb? The bee's knees. What informal Hawaiian hand gesture, performed by extending the thumb and pinky finger, is used to convey a relaxed or friendly greeting? Shaka. In the 2024 animated sequel Moana 2, what native Hawaiian word expressing warmth, gratitude, and heartfelt affection is used in the soundtrack? Aloha. What five-letter adjective meaning overly sentimental or sappy originally referred to something resembling or smelling like malt alcohol? Corny. Language, terminology, and wordplay. What noun refers to the act of pushing someone or something to an insignificant or powerless position within a group or society? Marginalization. What word can mean a child's one-piece jumpsuit garment, a person who plays playfully, or a young animal at play? Romper. In Scrabble or word games, what nine-letter white wine variety starting with Z ends with the letter D? Zinfandel. What term refers to an automatic feature on modern electronic devices that frequently changes misspelled words, sometimes incorrectly? Autocorrect. What action-oriented three-word habits advice title by Admiral William H. McRaven suggests a simple morning task to build discipline? Make your bed. What term describes a physical, brick-and-mortar retail location as opposed to an online e-commerce business? Brick and mortar. What triangular portion of an exterior wall lies between the edges of a dual-pitched sloping roof? Gable. What French word translating to nights completes the opening line Des nuits d'amour à plus finer in Edith Piaf's La Vie en Rose? Newts. Automotive, business, and technology. What top-secret Cold War CIA initiative served as the code name for a covert mind control and behavioral modification program? MKUltra. What self-driving technology company originated as Google's autonomous vehicle project in 2009 before rebranding in 2016? Waymo. What major American consumer electronics retail chain introduced the affordable TRS-80 microcomputer system in 1977? Radio Shack. In an internal combustion engine vehicle, What electric motor engages the flywheel to crank and start the engine? Starter motor. What major North American children's clothing manufacturer operates alongside its subsidiary brand Oshkosh B'gosh? Carter's. Which major Swedish home furnishings retailer manufactures flat-pack bed frames with names like Tufted and Jorksnes? IKEA. What flagship airline of Australia issued a public apology in 2024 after an explicit film was shown on screens across an entire flight? Qantas. Sports and athletics. What middleweight and heavyweight boxer, famously portrayed by Robert De Niro in Raging Bull, was nicknamed the Bronx Bull? Jake LaMotta. What Hall of Fame basketball player was hailed by Michael Jordan as the greatest mind game player and trash talker in NBA history? Larry Bird. What basic type of wetsuit diving gear allows a thin layer of water to enter and warm against the body, unlike a dry suit? Wetsuit. In sports and theater, what word describes an ensemble of actors, an angler's throwing motion, or a rigid medical support for broken bones? Cast. What term is used for the top executive leader or academic head of many universities instead of a traditional president? Chancellor. Food, beverage, and hospitality. What type of traditional semi-oxidized Chinese tea translates literally to black dragon tea and contains 3 O's in its English spelling? Oolong. What type of edible legume or kidney bean gets its name from the capital city of Peru? Lima bean. What specific variety of hard candy, designed to last a long time, shares its name with a common term for a hardened criminal? Jawbreaker. What light morning meal, often including fruit, pastries, and coffee, is served in hotel grand lobbies to guests? Continental breakfast. What classic 9-inch hollow-edge kitchen knife style made by brands like Wusthof is designed for chopping and slicing? Santoku knife. Famous figures and personalities. Which filmmaker directed acclaimed documentaries such as The Thin Blue Line and The Fog of War after working as a private investigator? Errol Morris. Which U.S. Supreme Court justice studied European literature under author Vladimir Nabokov while attending Cornell University? Ruth Bader Ginsburg. What famous New York City bartender and restaurateur was known for his colorful establishments and hospitality legacy? P.J. Clark. Which Massachusetts senator is famous for the phrase, "If you don't have a seat at the table, you're probably on the menu"? Elizabeth Warren. What American author and satirist created the fictional alter ego composer P.D.Q. Bach to parody classical music? Peter Schickele. What German theoretical physicist worked closely with the Max Planck Institute and formulated the matrix mechanics model of quantum physics? Werner Heisenberg. Which 18th-century classical composer was the famous musical son of Johann Sebastian Bach, unrelated to fictional parodies? Carl Philipp Emanuel Bach. Space and exploration. Which NASA robotic rover touched down inside Mars's Gusev crater on January 3, 2004, to search for signs of past water? Spirit. What national space project or mission sent the first human-made rover vehicle to traverse another planetary body's cratered surface? Lunocode 1. What general term describes a space probe designed to land directly on an extraterrestrial body to perform scientific research? Lander. What astronomical unit measures the distance light travels through a vacuum in 1 Earth year? Light year. Games, hobbies, and recreation. What tile-based game of Chinese origin, named after the word for sparrows, features tiles depicting birds, suits, and dragons? Mahjong. What traditional strategy board game played with counters was discovered by Sir Leonard Woolley in modern-day Iraq during the 1920s? Royal game of UR. In standard pencil grading, what numeric value indicates a medium-grade drawing and writing lead made of balanced graphite and clay? Number 2. What term describes a child's game played outdoors involving chasing, running, or tagging other players? Tag. Sociology, culture, and religion. What religious movement, originating in Jamaica during the 1930s, was partly inspired by images of African fighters wearing locks? Rastafari. What term describes a Slavic ethnic group whose historical name means field dwellers, and who established an early state in Central Europe? Polans. What general name describes a person who plays playfully or sports around in an energetic manner? Frolicker. What term refers to a specialized professional who provides career guidance, personal advice, and academic counseling to secondary school students? Guidance counselor.